You wake up to the soft groan of wooden floorboards beneath your bedroll. Not a bed, no springs, no mattress. Just a rough burlap sack stuffed with straw. Your neck already hurts and you haven't even stood up yet. Welcome to the Wild West. Population, mostly people with rashes. The sun isn't even fully up, but it's already poking its golden fingers through the crooked window slats. The air is dry, sharp, and smells faintly of sweat, wood smoke, and something like old cheese. That last one is probably coming from you. Hygiene isn't exactly trending around here. You sit up. Everything creaks. Your joints, the boards, the rusty frame of whatever excuse for shelter you slept in. The room, or shed, honestly, has a cracked pitcher of water and a bar of soap so dry it could double as chalk. If you're thinking of freshening up, that's adorable. As you stumble outside, boots thudding against the warped steps, dust kicks up and sticks to your skin. It's everywhere, like a clingy ex or your aunt's Facebook comments. You breathe in, cough once, then again. There's no real cure for this air, just resignation. The sun's rising over a landscape that's wide, brown, and full of judgment. Wooden storefronts line the main road. There's a saloon, a blacksmith, a general store, and, of course, a church. Because even in a place where you can die from bad stew, someone wants you to fear hell more than dysentery. Historically, this is the 1870s. Post-Civil War. Pre-iPhone. Railroads are pushing westward, bringing settlers, soldiers, and salesmen with shiny buttons. The Homestead Act is in effect, promising land if you're willing to nearly die for it. Spoiler, most people nearly die for it. A horse clops by, leaving a fresh, steaming gift on the road. A few chickens scatter. You hear a man cough behind you, wet and gravelly. Tuberculosis, most likely. It's the background noise of the frontier, like lo-fi beats for dying slowly. You duck into the general store. Shelves creak under the weight of canned peaches, pickled things, and bolts of fabric no one really buys. A jar of leeches sits near the register. Yes, leeches. For medicine. This was the pinnacle of science, once. An old man eyes you from behind the counter, chewing something that probably used to be tobacco. New in town? He asks, although it sounds more like a threat than curiosity. You nod. He snorts and goes back to pretending to do inventory. Here's your first historical fact of the night. Most Wild West towns didn't have gunfights. That's a myth. They had meetings, and paperwork, and unpaid bar tabs. Real danger came from starvation, infection, and your neighbor stealing your mule. Obscure cultural tidbit. Tooth powder made of charcoal and salt, rubbed directly on teeth, meant was for rich folks, or Eastern folks who still had dentists. You walk out, squinting at the blinding sun. There's a well at the center of town, where a woman is hauling water with arms like tree trunks. You think about helping her. You don't. Not because you're rude, but because lifting anything heavier than your own anxiety is a good way to pull something you don't have antibiotics for. Historians still debate whether cowboy hats were more function or fashion. Either way, yours doesn't help much with the heat. The sweat's pooling behind your ears, and it's not even 9 a.m. You're parched. The saloon beckons, its wooden sign swinging lazily. Inside, it's dark, cool, and smells like old beer and regret. A few men play cards. One woman leans against the piano, bored out of her mind. She spots you and rolls her eyes. You must look very moisturized. The bartender pours you a glass of something that looks like whiskey and tastes like varnish. You sip. You regret it. Now let's ease into tonight's journey. The day is just beginning, and already your skin itches, your boots hurt, and you're a little concerned that someone outside is yelling about a goat that isn't his. Settle in. You're not going anywhere fast. You leave the saloon after exactly one sip and a cough that nearly redecorates the floor. The morning is in full swing now. Horses are tied up outside, swishing tails like metronomes of misery. A boy runs past with a stick and a hoop. He's having more fun than you'll probably have all day. Your stomach growls loudly, but it's the kind of hunger that doesn't come with options. There are no cafes here. No toast with avocado, no oat milk latte, no sign of existential dread. Just beans. Beans cooked in bacon fat if you're lucky, or creek water if you're not. You wander toward the boarding house. Breakfast is being served in the main hall, which is also the only hall. Long wooden table, benches, and a sense of collective despair hang in the air. You sit next to a woman in a bonnet who looks like she hasn't smiled since the gold rush ended. The meal? Salt pork. Biscuits hard enough to chip a tooth. Coffee made from burned beans and whatever the cook found on the floor. You eat it. You have to. Your other option is Hungary in 1875, which is just a slower death. Today's big historical fact, coffee was the prized frontier item. Some settlers would trade bullets or soap for a bit of stale coffee. Priorities were clear. You could be filthy, but don't be uncaffeinated. There's a man across the table telling a story about seeing a bear once. He lost a boot and a friend, in that order. The table laughs, but it's more of a low wheeze than anything joyful. Everyone's tired. All the time. Even the babies look middle-aged. The woman in the bonnet cuts her biscuit with a hunting knife. You pretend not to notice. Someone coughs again, different from before, but equally dramatic. You're starting to wonder if coughing is just how people say hello here. Outside, a bell rings. It's the blacksmith. Time to start the working day. Not yours, thankfully. You've got no trade yet, no claim, and no skill anyone wants. You're like a walking newspaper ad for willing to learn, terrible at first. You try to help carry water from the well, but the bucket handle rips some skin off your palm. Congratulations, you now have tetanus. Or you will soon. Unless that rusty soap at your place is actually holy. Weird cultural tidbit. Some people here believe sleeping with onions under the bed keeps away bad spirits and illness. It doesn't, but at least your nightmares will smell like soup. You lean against the hitching post and look out over the street again. The sky is too bright, the dirt too loud, and your stomach is having second thoughts about breakfast. You hear a harmonica from somewhere down the alley. It's kind of pretty. Kind of haunting. Like someone playing your obituary in advance. Historians still debate whether frontier women were more free or more burdened than their urban sisters. The answer is probably both. Freedom comes at the cost of comfort out here. Especially when laundry day means boiling your knuckles raw over a fire. A wagon creaks by, wheels screeching like something in pain. It's hauling hay and two chickens tied by the feet. One is either sleeping or very, very calm about its fate. You glance at the saloon again. You think about napping. You remember the floorboards and the snoring card players. Maybe not. Someone mentions a storm rolling in later. You look up. Clear skies. But the way your luck's going, that could mean anything from dust to hail to frogs. The sun's climbing higher. The sweat's soaking deeper. And you, my friend, are one minor inconvenience away from giving up and becoming a full-time ghost story. Sleepy yet? No? Good. The day's barely halfway begun. You wander the town again, trying not to look aimless, which is difficult when you absolutely are. Every wooden step you take kicks up dust that settles in your nose and eyebrows, like the town is trying to bury you in very slow motion. A man with a shiny badge leans against the sheriff's office, chewing on something and spitting it into the road with the accuracy of a bored sniper. He eyes you, like he knows you're new. Because of course you are. No one here walks like you do, upright, with hope. Law around here's mostly preventative, he mumbles. Which you take to mean, it's more about looking serious and less about writing reports. His revolver hangs heavy on his belt, but the bullets? You're not sure they're all real. That, or maybe the town budget ran out. You learn your first major historical fact of the afternoon. Most western towns only had one lawman, if any. Sheriffs were often part-time and sometimes the same person as the barber, undertaker, or preacher. Multitasking was less a skill, more a survival requirement. Behind you, the wind picks up. A tumbleweed rolls past like it's on cue, which makes you want to applaud or boo. You can't decide. You cough again. Always coughing. You follow the path behind the sheriff's office, past a stable that smells like burning hair and spoiled oats, to where the women are gathered by a riverbank. It's laundry day. Which, here, is less about cleaning and more about public suffering. They scrub shirts on washboards with lye soap so caustic it should come with a skull and crossbones label. One woman jokes that if her husband stains another pair of trousers, she'll hang him up on the line instead. They all laugh, a sound that's half thunder and half thunder fatigue. You try to offer help. A woman hands you a bucket, and you immediately regret it. Your hands blister faster than your pride can recover. This is work. Real work. Not the kind with meetings and coffee breaks. The kind that leaves your spine 3 inches shorter by dusk. Weird cultural tidbit: lye soap was often homemade with ash and animal fat. It cleaned everything, including skin, right off your bones. Frontier skincare? Blisters and prayer. Across the river, 2 boys wrestle in the mud while a dog watches like a tired referee. One of them throws a frog. No one flinches. Historians still debate whether towns like this were truly lawless or just selectively lawful. Justice depended on who owned the land, who ran the store, or who bought the whiskey. A man shouts from the hill, "Stagecoach late again." No one answers. Everyone expects it. It's not just the mail that's slow, it's everything. Time here is less of a ticking clock and more of a suggestion. The sun has dipped slightly. You think maybe you'll nap. Maybe under that wagon. Maybe next to the church. But you know you won't. Because sleep here isn't easy. It's earned through sheer exhaustion and aggressive denial. Someone hands you a piece of dried apple. It's chewy, sour, and kind of like eating leather that once knew fruit. Still, it's the best thing you've tasted all day. Now you smell like smoke, sweat, soap, and failure. And it's not even supper time. You follow your nose to supper. It's not a pleasant journey. The boarding house kitchen smells like boiled sorrow and burnt ambition. But it's food. Sort of. Tonight's menu: overcooked beans, mystery stew, and a biscuit that may double as a lethal weapon in the wrong hands. You sit at the long table again, across from a man with 1 tooth and 1,000 stories. He's already talking. Saw a man die over a poker hand once, he says, shoveling stew with alarming speed. Turns out he was cheating. Or breathing too loudly. No one's sure. That's your major historical fact this time. Violence in the Wild West was often petty, unglamorous, and deeply stupid. Most fatal disputes were over debts, livestock, or loud snoring. Not exactly high noon duels. You chew your biscuit. It resists. You wonder if it's made of stone and stubbornness. Across the room, someone's playing a fiddle. Slowly. Badly. It doesn't help digestion. You overhear someone mention doctrine, which here means a traveling man with a bag full of saws, whiskey, and hope. Dentistry? If you're lucky, someone owns pliers and a strong grip. Numbness is emotional, not physical. And here's a real cultural gem: some settlers believed smoking a pipe soothed toothaches. Not cured, just distracted from. Because nothing says relief like hot embers in your face. The sun sinks, painting everything gold. It would be beautiful if you weren't so itchy. You think you might have fleas. Or chiggers. Or just paranoia, which is also contagious out here. You walk outside after dinner, sipping something they call tea. It tastes like boiled bark and makes your tongue feel betrayed. But it's warm, and the air is cooling. The horses are quieter now. The chickens are roosting. A dog somewhere howls half-heartedly, then gives up. Someone lights a lantern on the main street. The flame flickers like it, too, is unsure this place is worth the effort. Historians still debate whether meals like this were typical or just tragic. Journals describe better fare, but they also lie. People tend to remember things that didn't poison them as slightly more charming. You sit by a barrel, trying not to think about how little you've accomplished today. You survived, barely. That's something. In the Wild West, survival is the most popular hobby. Your feet hurt. Your back is a knot. You've developed a mysterious pain in your left side that you'll probably name and accept as part of you now. And tomorrow? You'll do it all again. Because options are a luxury for the living. You close your eyes, just for a moment. Someone walks past, muttering about wolves and lantern oil. You nod politely, like that's a totally normal sentence. The wind picks up again. It smells like sagebrush and someone's cooking gone wrong. Good night? Not yet. There's plenty more Wild West discomfort to come. Evening settles like a dusty blanket over the town. The last rays of sunlight stretch across the dirt road like tired arms, and every building seems to sigh into its own shadow. You're not alone. No one ever really is out here, even when they want to be. You pass by a porch where two women are knitting under the dim glow of a lantern. Their needles clack in rhythm, like tiny bones arguing. They nod at you without smiling. In a place where everything takes effort, smiles are saved for special occasions, like weddings or barn raisings. Or especially funny mule accidents. You hear a door slam in the distance. Then, the unmistakable sound of a drunk man arguing with a fence post. He's losing. You decide to head back toward the boarding house. It's not comfortable, but it's something resembling a bed. The door creaks as you push it open and step inside. The common room smells faintly of old tobacco, mildew, and wet wool. A man snores by the stove, one boot off and one eye half open, like he's afraid to trust sleep completely. You climb the stairs, each one letting out a whimper beneath your weight. Your room, if you can call it that, is a box with a cot, a cracked mirror, and a chair that has seen things. You sit, and the chair responds with a groan that echoes your spine. Here's your historical fact. Despite the romantic image of frontier camaraderie, many Wild West settlers were deeply private, and suspicious. Claim jumping, livestock theft, and runaway debts turned neighbors into watchful rivals. Privacy was less about space and more about silence. You lie back on the cot. It sags like an old promise. The pillow is stuffed with straw that pokes through the case like it's trying to escape. One of the pokes lands right in your ear. You accept this as part of life now. The weird tidbit of the night? Some folks believed that sleeping with a Bible under your pillow would protect you from snake bites, even in your dreams. That's assuming, of course, the snakes had enough manners to wait until morning. From outside, You hear the murmur of voices. A group of men are swapping stories near the saloon, their laughter low and tired, like the town itself is chuckling in its sleep. You catch bits and pieces, something about the storm, a broken wheel, and a man who once sold his own boots for a harmonica. Historians still debate whether Western towns were more violent at night or just louder. Some say darkness brought danger, others say it simply made everyone braver. Or drunker. You roll over and stare at the wall. A spider descends from the ceiling slowly, like it's thinking about whether you're worth the trouble. You reach for a boot to gently persuade it otherwise, but the spider's already changed its mind. Smart spider. The wind outside howls just once, long, low, and weirdly personal. Then silence. You close your eyes. The cot creaks in protest. Sleep is near. But so is dawn. The morning greets you with a splinter. You sat up too fast, forgetting your bed was made by someone who believed comfort was a form of weakness. Your back cracks like a tree in winter. You shuffle to the window and peek through the warped glass. It's early. The kind of early that makes roosters groan and coffee cry. But the town is already moving. A cart creaks down the main road, loaded with hay and one very bored-looking goat. You wash your face with the leftover water from the tin basin. It's ice cold and smells vaguely metallic, probably from the bucket, possibly from the year 1875 in general. Downstairs, breakfast is a repeat performance of Beans and Biscuits, the musical, now with extra crunch. Someone passes around jerky that tastes like regret and boot polish. You chew anyway. Hunger doesn't care about flavor. A man bangs open the door and stomps in, red-faced and panting. Stagecoach was held up, he announces. No one reacts much. One woman mutters, "Tuesday, like this is perfectly on schedule." Here's your next historical fact. Stagecoach robberies weren't as common as movies suggest, but they happened enough to make passengers anxious and insurance companies richer. The average thief made off with a few dollars and a lot of dust. You sip the coffee. It's slightly better than paint thinner. Marginally. Out on the porch, the sheriff looks unimpressed. "Reckon it was Carson again," he says, not moving an inch. "Told him last time, leave the mail, take the silver." You're not sure if he's joking. You walk the main street again, your boots kicking up that familiar cloud of annoyance. A new sign is being nailed above the general store, "Worm tonic, for man, mule, and mystery illness." You stare at it too long and almost believe it. Weird cultural tidbit. Many towns sold snake oil and tonics that promised to cure everything from headaches to heartbreak. Some were alcohol-based, others were turpentine-based. None were good for you, but most were better than doing nothing. You stop by the blacksmith's again. Sparks fly as he hammers away at something curved and angry. "Horseshoe," he grunts, before you even ask. "For the preacher's new mule." You nod, like that means anything to you. Historians still debate whether frontier preachers had more influence than sheriffs. Both carried authority, but only one promised eternal salvation with a side of moral guilt. The preacher, for the record, walks by just then. He tips his hat at you and squints. "You the one that came in yesterday?" he asks. You nod. He nods back. "Don't forget, Sunday's sermon's about humility and dried goods." You make a mental note to pretend you're busy on Sunday. The sun is rising fast, already baking the earth. You can feel your shirt glue itself to your back. A bead of sweat rolls down your spine like it's escaping. There's a commotion near the saloon. A man is yelling about debts and "not my cow, not my fence, not my problem." He's being dragged by the collar by a woman who looks like she's wrestled larger things before breakfast. No one interferes. You lean against a barrel and let out a long sigh. Your breath tastes like old biscuit and dirt. But you're alive. And somehow, that still counts. Welcome to the second day. You probably won't survive much longer. But hey, you've made it this far. The sun keeps climbing, and with it, the town's collective mood begins to sag. You decide to walk, again, mostly because sitting invites too many conversations you're not emotionally prepared for. Also, the chair in your room gave you a splinter in a location too delicate to describe. You follow the dirt road out of the main strip, past the preacher's modest whitewashed chapel. He's outside, hammering a new verse onto the board out front. "Pride goeth before destruction," it reads. You glance down at your boots. Dusty, cracked, humble. You're clearly safe. He waves without turning. God sees effort. You think about correcting your posture but decide against it. A few children run past, chasing the wheel with a stick. One of them trips, falls, and gets up like he was trying to dig with his face on purpose. You envy his resilience. In the distance, a bell rings. It's not Sunday, but the schoolhouse rings one every afternoon to remind people that the children are still alive and probably need feeding. You pass a row of cabins. Outside one, a woman is chopping vegetables on a barrel top, knife flashing in the sun. She nods. Storm coming. You look up. There's not a cloud in sight, but your nose twitches. Dust storm, maybe. Or hers do. Hard to tell. Historical fact of the day? Dust storms, or black blizzards, weren't just a Depression-era phenomenon. Plains regions in the 1800s had their share of surprise sand in your soul weather. Sometimes it was so dry, meat cured on the line midair. You step past a pen of pigs snorting contentedly in the mud. They look cleaner than you feel. One of them, oddly enough, has a bow tied to its tail. Don't ask. A man is fixing a fence nearby. Or, more accurately, he's swearing at a post that refuses to stand up. You offer to help, and he hands you a hammer. After 3 weak attempts and a bruised thumb, he gently takes it back. "Best leave it," he says, kindly. "Some things ain't for everybody." The weird tidbit today? Some frontier folks used to bury a horseshoe in front of their door to keep witches and misfortune away. You wonder if burying yourself might work better. By midday, the sun's a slow baking oven, and your clothes feel like regret in wet paper. A man walks by carrying 3 eggs and the expression of someone who's made many enemies. Historians still debate whether town life or homesteading was harder. One had company and typhoid, the other had loneliness and wolves. A thrilling menu, really. You sit beneath a cottonwood tree, one of the few bits of shade that doesn't cost money or judgment. The breeze stirs briefly. It's warm, dry, and carries with it the scent of manure and day-old soup. Your eyes close for a moment. A fly buzzes near your ear. You slap at it and miss. It circles back, out of spite. The bell rings again. Probably means it's time to pretend to do something useful. You stand, stretch, and realize your knees now make a sound that can only be described as mournful. The sky is playing tricks now. A faint line of gray creeps along the horizon, soft as smoke, slow as gossip. You squint. Maybe that woman was right. You head back toward town. The air has changed. Not cooler, just different. Still dry, still warm, but heavier. Like the whole world is holding its breath and doesn't quite trust you. At the general store, a few folks are boarding up windows. Just in case, someone mutters. You duck inside, more curious than helpful. Inside, it smells of dust, beans, and something faintly medicinal. Possibly the leeches again. The shopkeeper, who may or may not have moved since yesterday, nods in your direction. You got storm shoes? You don't. You didn't know that was a thing. He doesn't explain, just shrugs. You ask for water. He hands you a tin cup and points to a barrel. It's lukewarm and slightly green. Still better than the coffee. Outside, a few men are tying down crates and a goat. The goat does not appreciate this. Historical fact. The Wild West wasn't just dry. Some areas had unpredictable flash storms, winds strong enough to take shingles, hats, or entire moods. A single thunderclap could clear a saloon, or make someone claim they saw the devil. You pass the saloon again. Inside, it's surprisingly quiet. A card game is going on, slow and tense. One man stares so hard at his cards you worry he's forgotten to blink. Another sips from a chipped mug, looking like he's been through 5 lifetimes and still doesn't like any of them. You sit at the piano. You don't play. No one asks you to. Still, you press a key. It rings out, a little tinny, like it remembers better fingers. Someone chuckles in the corner. She liked that one, a voice says. You glance over. An old man tips his hat toward the piano. My wife used to play before she ran off with the preacher's brother. You nod. Nice key. He grins. Worse man. Obscure cultural tidbit. Widows and runaway brides weren't uncommon. Life expectancy was low. Marriages were often practical, and if your husband lost his teeth and his temper, well, The preacher's brother probably looked pretty good. You help a young boy gather firewood. He thanks you with a pebble. Magic rock, he says. You accept it solemnly. In this town, that might be legitimate currency. Historians still debate whether Wild West communities were tight-knit out of choice or necessity. It's easier to share stew with your neighbor than fend off coyotes alone. As the wind picks up, doors slam shut. Lanterns flicker. A hat rolls down the street like it's trying to leave town without a goodbye. You duck into your room. The air is tense, thick with expectation. Outside, thunder growls, a low, slow rumble, like someone dragging a bench across the heavens. You sit at the edge of your cot, magic pebble in hand, thinking about the day. You weren't robbed. You weren't kicked by a mule. You only mildly offended a fence. All things considered, a success. The window rattles once, then again. Rain starts tapping the roof in uneven rhythms. And finally, for the first time today, the town is still. You lie in your cot, wide-eyed, as the storm finds its rhythm. Rain taps out uneven code across the roof, a slow and erratic Morse message that says, "Good luck sleeping." Lightning flashes through the warped window pane, followed by a clap of thunder that sounds like a tree giving up. For a moment, everything is bright enough to see your reflection in the cracked mirror, eyes tired, face dusty, hair unsure of its mission. You pull the thin blanket up to your neck, even though it smells like 10 other people have done the same. Comfort, out here, is not always logical. It's about illusion. A small, scratchy illusion of safety. The wind whistles between the boards and the wall. Something creaks, maybe the chair, maybe the building, maybe your spirit. Suddenly, a loud bang. You sit up straight. Just the shutter, or the door, or the wrath of whatever creature was promised in last Sunday's sermon. You wait. Nothing else happens. You lie back down like it didn't happen at all. Historical fact. Buildings in many frontier towns were built fast, cheap, and questionably. Wood warped in heat, roofs leaked, and sometimes entire structures leaned slightly, as if they, too, were tired of being here. Outside, something scampers by. Small footsteps. 4 legs, probably. You choose to believe it's a dog. A very friendly, very uninterested in you dog. The rain keeps falling. The storm isn't angry, it's just persistent. Like a tax collector, or someone trying to sell you worm tonic. You close your eyes. Open them. Close them again. Someone in the hallway coughs. Of course they do. And here's your weird cultural tidbit. Some frontier towns had storm songs, little rhymes sung to keep kids calm during thunder. You don't know any, but you hum anyway. Something vaguely shaped like lullaby, frayed at the edges. Historians still debate whether storms were more terrifying or exciting for settlers. A break in the monotony? A reminder of nature's indifference? Maybe both. Either way, the roofs never enjoyed it. You drift for a moment. Or longer. Time is a blur out here, soft at the edges, like the moon behind clouds. Then a knock. Not a polite one. Not a "may I borrow some flour" knock. A hard, rushed knock. You freeze. Because what does that mean at this hour? You tiptoe to the door and press your ear against it. Silence. Then, open up. A voice, hoarse, maybe scared. "We need help." You open the door a crack. It's the woman from the vegetable barrel earlier, soaked, breathless, holding a boy wrapped in a coat. "He's burning up," she says. "We need the doc." There's no real doctor here, just the traveling one who left 2 days ago and a man named Earl who once read half a book on anatomy and claims to know things. You nod and gesture her in. She places the boy on your cot, and you cover him with the blanket, trying not to look like you have no idea what to do. She kneels beside him, whispering something. You hear the words "Lord" and "please" and "don't take him," too. You hand her your canteen. She thanks you without looking up. Outside, the storm rages on. But inside this tiny room, with its soggy floor and haunted chair, everything feels very, very quiet. You sit on the floor. The woman hums. The boy shivers once, then settles. You close your eyes and listen. Not to the storm, but to her. To the hush that wraps around fear and holds it steady. You probably won't sleep much tonight. But you're still here. The rain stops without warning. The wind fades into silence, and for a moment, the only sound is the slow, unsteady breathing of a town trying to remember how to exist. The sky turns a pale lavender, the kind of color you only see when the world has just barely survived something. You sit up. You must have slept a little. The woman is gone, the boy too. The cot is empty, blanket neatly folded. A small piece of paper rests where your pillow should be. "Thank you," it says. No name. No explanation. Just the kind of gratitude that doesn't need words. You stretch. Everything pops. Your spine sounds like someone trying to start a fire with damp twigs. You walk outside. The town glistens, not clean, exactly, just rinsed. The mud is thick, clinging to boots like it has something to prove. A man you've never seen before is sweeping water off the porch of the saloon. He nods. You nod. A shared understanding. The storm came, the storm left, and we're all still slightly confused. Here's your final historical fact. In the Wild West, most people didn't leave their towns unless they had to. Travel was expensive, dangerous, and often fatal. Which meant the ones who stayed became part of the place, weathered into it like wood into sun. You walk past the same buildings now, but they look different in the light. The general store leans a little more. The blacksmith's sign hangs crooked. The chapel door creaks open like it's sighing. The weird cultural tidbit to carry with you. Some folks believed if you saw a red fox at dawn, it meant change was coming. You look around. No fox. Just chickens, half awake and suspicious. Historians still debate whether the Wild West ended slowly or all at once. Was it railroads, law, or just boredom? You stand at the edge of town. The road ahead is long, uncertain, and full of bugs. But your boots are on. Your shirt is mostly dry. And your heart? Still beating. One last breath. Deep. Dusty. Yours. Now. As the morning unfolds, the wind settles into hush. The heat hasn't come yet. The birds are just beginning to decide what kind of day this will be. You hear the soft creak of a wagon wheel somewhere far off, the quiet footsteps of a world stretching awake. The town behind you fades into blur. Dust swirls gently behind every step, soft as memory, light as cotton. There is no rush here. No emails. No deadlines. Only the echo of hoofbeats in soft earth and the whisper of old trees remembering stories. You walk slowly now, each step looser than the last. The ache in your back becomes something ancient and noble. You carry it like the settlers did, quietly, without complaint. The sky glows whiter. The blue so pale it feels like it's breathing. Clouds drift like thoughtless sheep, unhurried and soft. A breeze brushes past your cheek like a half-forgotten lullaby. There's a smell of grass and heat, not yet arrived. You smile to yourself, unsure why. Maybe it's the silence. Maybe it's the survival. Maybe it's the fact that you're still walking, still upright, still dusty, but undeniably here. The Wild West didn't want you, but you made it through a day. And now, you lay your head down, wherever you are. Let the dust settle. Let your breath slow. There are no saloons here. No wolves. No biscuits like bricks. Only sleep. Only calm. Only the slow exhale of time, waiting. Good night, traveler. You did well.